The hallway that left the cargo room headed straight towards the stern.
A long hallway, huh? Let's check it out.
Junpei and the other three proceeded down it silently. Some distance along it, a large room opened up on the left-hand side. It looked familiar. An iron grate covered each of the elevators. Junpei and his companions drew to a stop and began to discuss what their next move should be.
We've seen this elevator before.
We got off the one on the left just a little while ago.
Then we went through the number 6 door, and that took us to the engine room.
Yes, and after that we passed through the cargo room.
And now we're back here.
In other words, we made a loop. We're back where we started.
Junpei approached the elevator.
We needed a card to get to this point.
I don't see a card reader here.
Perhaps we aren't able to activate it from this location.
Why don't you just try pushing the button?
Yeah.
Gently, he pushed a triangular button on the wall. A moment passed.
It works.
The elevator door opened and then eventually shut again.
I think so.
Pushing the button had apparently restored power to the elevator.
Good. Now we can go back if we need to.
What do we do? Should we return to C deck?
No, this hallway keeps going. Even if we do end up going back, I think we should see what's down there first.
I agree. Let's go.
Their decision made, Junpei and his companions left the elevators behind and continued down the hallway. Some time later,
Looks like it ends here.
Santa, who had been walking several paces in front of the rest, suddenly stopped.
Only one door.
They searched around just in case.
There isn't anything else. It's the only way to go.
It was the door or nothing, much like Nerf.
All right, let's open it.
Junpei took a deep breath, readied himself, then grabbed the doorknob and pulled the door open. He paused for a moment, then stepped through, into the room. And there he saw the number that had hung over their heads since they'd woken up. 9.
The 9 door.
Like the numbers on every other door, this one, too, was a rough shape made of red paint. Its door was set into the back wall of the room. Junpei leapt toward it with a sudden burst of hopeful energy. It was a large door, heavy and full of solemn importance. He grabbed the door handle and shook.
Of course it wouldn't be that easy.
The red sat on the wall, next to the door. Displayed on it...
Vacant. Huh. We finally found it.
Junpei felt himself overwhelmed by a torrent of emotion. At last they found the exit, but cold gripped his heart, and he knew all too well why. As he stood, frozen, unsure of what to think or feel...
Jumpy!
Huh?
Look! Behind you!
He spun around, and couldn't believe what he saw.
What? A 9 door. There's another one. Why?
Junpei's voice was barely audible, even to himself. He stumbled toward the second door, as if somehow compelled. It was a small single door. It sat in the starboard corner of the room, on the same wall as the door they'd entered from, but in the opposite corner.
It's 9, no matter how you look at it. The red is there too. So this is a real one?
Junpei shook the door handle pointlessly and muttered to himself,
Why? Why the hell are there 2 doors?
It was Santa who answered.
There were always 2 doors. I mean, if you think about it, Zero never actually said there was only 1 door with a 9 on it.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Of course, we just assumed that there was only 1. After all, why would there be more than 1?
Oh, man. We fell for it. There are 2 doors. That means that all 9 people who had met at the central staircase could escape. No one would be left behind. Now it makes sense why the bracelets are numbers, 1 through 9, divided into teams of 4 and 5 people. The digital root of both teams ends up being 9. Take 1, 2, 7, 8 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 for example. The digital root for both teams would be 9. Or 2, 3, 4, 9 and 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. The digital root is still 9. There are a bunch of combinations that work and they all end up the same way. If one team has the digital root of 9, so would the other one. What does that mean? The answer's simple. From the very beginning, the Nonary game was designed to save all 9 people. That's how it was meant to be. Zero didn't lie. He never said there'd be only 1 9 door. But anyone who'd found themselves in the game would have assumed that was the case. Fights would have broken out. One team would likely betray or deceive the other. Someone might be hurt. Someone might get killed. But eventually, they'd reach this very same room and realize how pointless all their infighting was. There were 2 doors. There was no need to kill each other.
They'd understand and be appalled, overwhelmed with guilt at what they'd done.
This game was designed for that purpose. This Nonary game. We were all arguing and fighting over doors at the beginning. But if there had been one slip-up, one tiny mistake that led to more, everything could have been so much worse now.
The thought of it sent a chill down his spine.
So, what are we going to do, Junpei?
A voice broke through Junpei's frantic thoughts. Santa's voice.
Oh, right.
Hey, keep it together, man.
Sorry.
Jeez. So what do we do?
What do you...
We need to think about our next step.
Our numbers are 1, 3, 5, and 6. That's a digital root of 6.
The 4 of us can't open the number 9 door.
The 4? Wait, don't tell me.
Yep. There's one combination that'll let 3 of us open the 9 door. That's why I'm asking, what now?
What now?
It took him no time at all to determine the answer. There was only one combination of 3 people that would give a digital root of 9. 1, 3, and 5 equals 9. That would mean...
No, we gotta go back.
That wasn't a possibility he was willing to consider. Santa and Ace agreed.
Yep.
I agree. We cannot leave June behind.
Junpei let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding.
Are you sure? I don't mind staying.
June's body betrayed her true feelings. Her eyes were wet with the beginnings of tears, and her legs shook.
It's okay. There's no way we'd leave you behind.
Santa had said what Junpei had known the moment he'd realized which 3 people would go through the door.
Besides, I'd rather drown at the bottom of the ocean than escape with this sausage fest. Maybe I'll get to go to Atlanta.
Are you sure you don't mean Atlantis?
Huh?
Probably.
Oh, right.
Perhaps it was a sudden reassurance that no one wanted to leave June behind, but Junpei laughed harder than he had in some time. Santa and Ace smiled.
You guys.
June blinked tears from her eyes and bit her lip. She didn't seem to know what else to say.
Very well. Best we head back to C-Deck then. We should be able to take the elevator we passed earlier. Perhaps Clover, Seven, and Lotus will have returned from door 1.
Even as Ace spoke, they knew finding the others wouldn't improve the situation.
But even with all 7 of us...
Ace knew it. They all knew it.
Standing around here isn't going to accomplish anything, don't you agree? Let's find the other 3 first, and then search for another solution.
I guess you're right.
All right, let's go.
Ace looked at all 3 of them, then turned and headed through the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Santa and June followed. Junpei started towards the door, then stopped.
Come to think of it, what is this room?
They mentioned Snake's bracelet was kind of destroyed. When they found it at the scene where his body was, his bracelet was pretty much destroyed completely. It didn't seem terribly important now, but what exactly was it?
We were so focused on the doors, we didn't even look around.
A red carpet ran between 2 columns of wooden benches that ran the length of the room.
It looks like it's set up for some kind of ceremony. But what kind?
Facing the 9 door was the carpet leading to the bow of the ship. And at the end... was it an altar, perhaps? There was a small rectangular alcove at the end of the carpet, and inside the alcove was a raised platform. Resting on top of the platform was a coffin.
A coffin? What on earth is a coffin doing in a place like this?
But before Junpei had time to answer that question...
Hey, Junpei! The hell are you doing? Let's move!
Santa's voice echoed in from the hall outside.
Right, okay. I'll be right there.
Junpei turned on his heel and left the quiet, somber room. They took the elevator up to C-Deck. Once there, they headed back toward the main hall and the central staircase. It didn't take them long.
Look, it's...
Seven and Lotus.
They didn't look happy.
We've got a problem.
Clover is gone.
What?
Junpei and his 3 companions looked at one another. He turned back to Seven and Lotus.
What do you mean, gone?
Santa, Ace, and June had their own questions to ask.
When?
Why?
You 2 went into door 1 with Clover, didn't you?
Seven and Lotus responded as best they could.
Yeah, we went through the door together.
But Clover barely spoke to us.
She just did her own thing the whole time.
There were 4 rooms on the other side of door 1.
She wouldn't let us into the 4th room.
She just said, I'll take care of this one.
And shut the door.
She must have blocked it with something on the other side.
We waited for a while, but Clover didn't come out.
We called for her, but she didn't answer.
So I kicked down the door and we went into the room.
But
It was empty.
Clover wasn't there.
There was a door on the other wall.
And it was open.
We figure she opened the door and left by herself.
We ran after her, of course, but
Well, obviously we didn't find her. You figured that much out.
Clover's gone.
Junpei thought for a moment.
When did this happen?
We got here just before you.
You certainly have excellent timing.
So you haven't searched anywhere other than near the staircase?
No, we haven't.
Finally, Ace spoke. His voice had an edge of resolve and concern.
Very well then. We'd best separate and look for Clover. We haven't much time left. Let's begin.
Yeah.
There were quick nods all around, and the 6 remaining players spread out. Don't you know you never split the party? Junpei and June ran into the central hospital room and looked around.
She's not here.
No, she isn't.
They searched a little longer, but with no luck. They couldn't find Clover.
There's no sign of her. Let's go.
Finally, they gave up and left the central hospital room. Slowly, they made their way back to the hallway. At last, they reached the stairs, and Junpei spoke.
All right, I'm thinking we should probably split up. I'll head back to the stairs and take the elevator down to E deck. June, you can take the stairs up to B deck.
All right, that sounds good. But,
What?
could you stop calling me by that code name when we're alone?
Huh? Sure, right. I'll do that.
There was a reason Junpei persisted in calling her June even when they were alone. Although, perhaps not the best reason. He was embarrassed to call her by the nickname he'd used when they were children. Canny. 9 years ago, it came naturally. After all, they were children. But now that they were adults, it felt strange. Regardless of what he might hope for, to call a woman he wasn't dating by such a childish nickname felt odd to him. Of course, to call her Ms. Kurashiki would be even more awkward, and simply Kurashiki would seem a little brusque. And although he couldn't put his finger on why, it felt somewhat forward to call her Akane when they hadn't seen each other for so long. In short, it was simply easier for him to call her June and leave it at that.
Jumpy.
No, it's nothing.
All right, I'm going then.
Yeah, be careful, Kane.
June, or perhaps more appropriately Connie, blushed and
You
smiled.
be careful too, Jumpy.
Yeah, got it. Take care.
Junpei looked after her for a moment as she ran up the stairs, then turned around and looked off for the hallway. Tragedy always strikes when one least expects it. But to wait for a man to stand before striking him down seems almost crueler than dealing the fatal blow while he lies on the ground. A light in a dark place, June's smile had given him hope, both for escape and possibly for something else. It was that hope that raised his spirits just enough that they might soon be fully dashed. He opened the elevator door, and there she was. A woman sat slouched against the wall. Lotus. Junpei felt his blood turn to ice. Her body was her body was limp, and her skin, smooth and pale as always, was covered in bright red blood. Junpei felt his chest constrict. He couldn't breathe, and his legs began to shake. A slow, cold drop of sweat trickled down his back. He felt his stomach somersault. Junpei's mind went blank, all his thoughts replaced with endless, hissing white. Driven by little more than instinct, he began to walk towards Lotus, slowly. Each slow movement of his stiff limbs brought her closer to her corpse. Finally, he stood next to her. Robotically, he bent down and put his hand against her neck. There was no pulse, no rise and fall of breathing. She was slightly warm. Something, somewhere in Junpei's shaken mind, told him that this meant she'd been killed recently. Yes, Junpei thought, his mind slowly returning. She had been killed. Someone had killed her. There was a deep cut on the left side of her chest. Blood still oozed from it, although clearly her heart had stopped beating some time ago. The weapon had been a knife, then. Perhaps she had been stabbed in the heart once. She would have died immediately. He took little comfort from knowing she must have suffered very little. Only then did Junpei notice Lotus's bracelet was gone.
Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only two ways to do so. 1. You escape from this ship. 2. Your heart rate reaches 0. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or the backside of the wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically.
Was that why the killer had ended Lotus's life? So that they might have the number 8 bracelet? If that was true, then the killer was whoever wanted the number 8 bracelet. Or perhaps, more accurately, the person who would gain the most by obtaining the bracelet number 8. Who is that? Who would benefit the most from the number 8 bracelet? The thought only just entered Junpei's mind when he heard a noise. A sound like a sharp knife cutting through wet meat. It struck him as strange that the noise came from inside his own body. A moment later, the pain hit him. It wasn't merely pain. There was heat. Extreme heat as well. He felt as though molten iron had been splashed against the side of his body. Finally, his brain made the connection. He'd been stabbed. But where? His body was quickly going numb. He couldn't tell where the knife had met his flesh. Given the circumstances, however, he had most likely been stabbed in the back. Whoever had killed Lotus had now done the same to Junpei as well. His voice was little more than a weak groan. With what little strength he had left, Junpei turned his body, trying to catch a glimpse of his attacker. But as he did, the knife dug itself in deeper, twisting viciously. He collapsed to the floor, a puppet with its strings cut. His arms and legs lay where they fell, oddly twisted and awkwardly positioned. Junpei's body was entirely numb. He could feel the blood leaking out of him, but nothing would move. Nothing save his eyes. As he lay on the floor, his life ebbing away, Junpei finally saw his attacker. 2 tiny images of the killer reflected in his eyes. With that recognition came nothing. He felt no emotions, not anger, not sadness, not regret. The paralysis that had claimed his body had reached his mind. His killer glanced down at his body. Then, without a word, climbed into the elevator and was gone. His eyesight began to fade. The world grew blurry and began to dissolve into an empty white fog. The fog crept into the edges of his mind and worked inexorably inward. That's a good word, inexorable. I like that word. Soon, it swallowed up the last that remained of Junpei's mind, and his consciousness left him. There was nothing more. Into utter emptiness he fell. Into zero. Whatever Junpei had been was gone. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-bum. And achievement unlocked, cut and run. Knife. Come on. Let's look back at this. So let's see. There is a locked door right here. Unlocked here. Unlocked here. There's something we have not solved here. I believe we've unlocked that, but we did not unlock this. Ah, yes. So a lot of little things here and there. Well, this time we know he was killed with a knife instead of an axe. But I do believe that will do it for this week. 8 hours worth of 999. Thankfully, the rest of the runs should be much, much shorter, and there's a pretty good chance we could actually finish this thing up next week. And then move on to Virtue's Last Reward. Because we've seen pretty much all the we've seen pretty much all the text we need to see outside of a couple of things? Maybe? But yeah. Next week we could actually finish this thing out and you won't be here. Huh. Well, that sucks. Maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can work something out. There's a pretty good chance we could finish this next week. Technically, we have 6 endings to see in total, but we only need to see 3 more of them if we go the right paths. And we can skip a whole lot of text from here on out. So most of what we're going to be seeing is, well, we're probably going to be doing a lot of skipping next week since we've seen the text in adventure and novel form. But anyway, yeah. I am done for this week. We will see what happens next week. But until then, take care, folks. Thank you for joining me. We will be back next week for more. Maybe we'll switch it to Sunday. I don't know. Depends how I feel. Actually, we kind of have to start back here. For reasons. We have to start right before the first choice. For various reasons. Anyway, take care, folks. I will see you back next week for more. Again, thanks for joining me. Later, all.